So now it's time for a deep dive into banking beyond banking. Our next speaker is Meniga's product expert number one. He's passionate about personal finance, cycling, and beer, to name a few things. Finnur is our VP product development, and he will be joined on stage by Mehta, Director of Digital Technology Innovation at Tangerine, one of our absolute favorite clients and partners. Among the things Finnur and Jay will show you is the demo that won FIN42 New York Best of Show in September earlier this year. So please welcome to the stage, to begin with, Finnur Magnusson.
Hello, good to see you all. Facebook reminded me it was 5 years ago when I did my first conference, Meniga conference in the Blue Lagoon. It was like these 3 tables. I think Willi was there and a few others. Now we're gathered here in this great venue, and a lot of you traveled almost half the way over the world to come here and share some insights and talk about the future of banking, digital banking. And this is probably the most difficult talk I've had to prepare. It's like telling you the history of my child in half an hour and where I want it to be in the future. But I'm going to make an attempt, and I'm going to have 2 guests, actually. We decided to mix this up a bit, so I have a surprise data scientist who's going to join me on stage in a bit. But a bit of background. So the last couple of years have been amazing. I'm going to start with an overview. Meniga is 10 years old next year. We have a lot of fantastic customers, many of them here with us today. And through the banks we work with, we have basically, we have access to 65 million people's finances, and we help to make, to simplify it and make it really easy for them to understand where the money is going. We started in Iceland 9 years ago, and we've been working with banks ever since. So, yes, I know we have open banking in the UK, but effectively we've been aggregating the 3 big banks through APIs all this time. And we started out with a pretty intense, kind of complicated budgeting tools and everything else. But we've been innovating quite fast. It's the heart of what we do. So we've been through 3 generations of our product. And just a year ago, we launched this 3rd iteration where we essentially designed everything from the API up. So we have a new fancy REST API, and we decided to take everything we've learned with all the projects that we've done in the past. And we want to make finance management more appealing and applicable to a wider audience. But the focus has always been on transactions. So we feel that banks are potentially losing out of their most valuable asset. The transactions are the footprint that make up our lives. It's the money we get paid and how we choose to spend it. And it's somewhat like the films and shows you see on Netflix. It's like Netflix has built a business around that. But if you select a transaction in your digital bank, the experience is sometimes somewhat underwhelming. We built a whole ecosystem around this, and a bit of history. We called this project, it was a 2-year project, we called FIN42, which was the answer to the digital banking in the future and everything. And now we're here at FIN42. My name is Finn, but I'm 41. No coincidences. We did more than 100 user tests, and what we did specifically was to recruit people that hated our product. We went out and we met people that were too scared to check the balance of their accounts, and we were trying to figure out how can we make this a good, pleasant experience for everyone. And we have had a hell of a year or 2 since we launched. We've received a lot of nominations and rewards, not only for the product and everything else, but also the branding and design. It's a little known fact that like these little fellows and our brand, it was actually developed on top of the apps because the old logo just didn't fit anymore. So that's been great, and I actually have like 35 or 40 minutes now. I've been doing 7-minute pitches in London and New York. We've been doing Best of Show with our friends Mark here from Tangerine, and Jay is going to join us later. And that's the place where we love to show our latest innovation. And basically what we've been doing is demonstrate what we built in the last 2 or 3 years. And we're getting a lot of good feedback on that. But my favorite graph is our Net Promoter Score. We have the best community, which is Iceland, not only per capita, it's also just a really great place to innovate. The banks are sharing an infrastructure and we can test all of our ideas and concepts here. We had a solid 0 in Net Promoter Score for the old app, and we set a yearly goal to go beyond 50, and we did that in August. But the good thing is we send this out to 200 people every month, and the quotes that I've roughly translated up there, it's hard to read, but they're telling a story where people are saving up for houses. That's a thing in Iceland. You need to buy a flat. But they're also saying, we're getting constantly through, I'm saving 300-400 euros since I started using the app. It's the best shit ever. I love Meniga. It's like, this is the type of stuff that gets me out of bed in the morning thinking about, the community and people we work with over here. This is a tweet just from a couple of weeks ago. It's a developer. He was talking about something completely different. But I noticed that the only Icelandic app he has there is the Meniga app. So for something as boring as managing your finances to be the app that he goes to, even instead of using his banking app, means that we're at least doing something right in this area. And what has been a really good journey as well is that we've been working on these beyond banking concepts. It's like we know how to work with transactions. We know how we want people to, experience the finances and understand where the money is going. But we're building new business models, and we went live with Íslandsbanki with our targeted rewards program, effectively managing a loyalty program on our Meniga.is platform and also within the bank. And it's a start of a journey where we believe we can make a big difference both for individuals and the banks. Speaking of banks, many of them here, so we've also managed to do some really amazing projects in the past where we can successfully, I sometimes say that Iceland has the best roadies per capita, probably. We can tune guitars and drum kits and everything else. We have to wear many hats. And a third of our company is integration developers, some of them here today. They can go on site and sort out the ugly green goo that is the core banking systems, consolidate transactions, and go live with those banks. And that's been the foundation of our success. So that's what we've been doing. And now I want to switch over to what we're going to do in the future. And the whole theme is beyond banking, and how can we move beyond just providing the traditional services of showing you the balance of your account and your transactions and making payments. What else can be done? And I want to anchor that with our higher purpose, which is to help people lead better financial lives. This is something I think about every day. And it has helped us a lot to have our customer-facing applications here in Iceland, so I'll be doing demos around that. That is how we like to innovate. But two of the things I learned from the redesign phase was this people part. 2 years ago, I had a presentation about how to create meaningful engagement, and it's all about identifying the different personalities and how we're all different. It's like, even though we have a pretty homogeneous room in here, we could probably split it into 3 or 4 sections where people have a totally different experience with their finances. So we need to understand people really well, and we also need to understand financial lives, because we've been working with banks in South Africa, Italy, Turkey, Spain. We see the same app with totally different statistics in Spain and Brazil. So you need to understand the culture and the people, and it was so great to see personas on screen here. It means that user experience is really something that banks are thinking about. But different geographies, different experience with money. I just finished Factfulness from Hans Rosling. It's a really good book if you work with data. But the point there that has stuck with me, it's probably the most physical reincarnation of finance. It's in Tunisia, they don't save up for a mortgage or pay down payments on the loan. They buy bricks. So if you have extra money, you buy bricks, and you can see people's houses, half-finished houses, and you can kind of see how they're doing financially just by looking at their houses. It's something that my parents did something of. It's like, if you have high inflation and everything else, this is something that makes sense. but I've just started using my Android phone to make payments here in Iceland. So what's happening is that we're getting more and more distant from where the money is coming in and where it's going out. It's like, what's happening with my finances? And we believe we need to create an insight and we need to create an experience around all of this. And some of the talks this morning, they've played nicely into this theme where we say it needs to be an ecosystem where we've been focusing on the individual and the people, helping people, live better financial lives. But combining that with, working with the banks, that's always been our strategy, because the banks, they have the information, they have the trust, in most cases still, and the enterprise. How can we work with small retailers and big brands to put more of their marketing money and build loyalty with the consumer? So this is the whole idea that we're working with, and I want to frame kind of the future discussion around these 4 themes. And I believe we've also touched on a lot of this morning. It's first of all, it's consolidation. We have PSD2. I'm not going to do a whole PSD2 discussion here, but we see a lot of interest now because of our experience with consolidating data within banks, but also because we designed the platform 9 years ago to manage multiple financial institutions. A lot of banks are struggling now with, okay, how is this going to work? I can manage my internal transactions, but now I'm going to start aggregating 300 other banks, even between countries. It's like different currencies, different messy text strings and everything else. So the way we talk about consolidation is a big theme going forward. And on top of that, we have data and intelligence. So once you have your people, your products, and your transactions sorted, you can start generating value. And that's where enrichment, segmentation, and analytics comes into play. And that's the platform. Those are things you absolutely need in place to innovate. And then the digital banking user experience, providing features so that people gather insight and they can change their habits and interact with their money. And finally, the rewards that I'll talk about a bit more. But this ability to give deep discounts and kind of create a relationship between merchant and customers where they build loyalty, but also generates new revenue for the banks. Okay, on consolidation. We see that with PSD2, a lot of banks have gone through the first wave of exposing their own data just to stay within compliance boundaries. But now there's a second wave coming where you're thinking about aggregating each other's data. Open banking has, been more aggressive in this means. So what we've been doing at Meniga is we've been watching all of this happening. We see that Canada is making some plans, right, guys? And New Zealand is already well away, so this is a global thing that's happening. And what we're launching early next year, we actually have 2 teams working on this now. It's we're going to be a leading force in kind of we're rewriting the APIs to load the data into the Meniga platform to be ready for all of these standards. And next-gen PSD2 standards is one of those, but there will be many others. We have Eurobits in the hall. We've been working with them and other aggregators, so that's the other side, the dusty screen scraping. Some people call it credential sharing, to put a nice name on it. It's a business we've been in for many years as well. We know that well. We've worked with a lot of the partners. So we're designing our APIs to work with that. But there are only like a couple of banks I've met in the last few years that are going beyond this. So again, on the beyond topic, it's like, why stop there? And this has been alluded in the previous presentations as well. It's really nice to come in and try to consolidate that. It's aggregating utility bills, your insurance policies, connecting to receipts from Amazon through your email or your different types of sources, things that are on the other end of your finance management. And also having a platform where you can integrate with other fintechs. And going even further, if you saw our demo at New York, it's the idea is always how can we make finance more fun, random, engage with people that are bored with day-to-day finance management. If you start aggregating fitness data, travel information, weather, we know that when it rains in Iceland, people buy Domino's pizza. It's a thing, and you can start correlating these things to make personal advice, and you can turn your banking platform into something different than just checking balances and doing that day-to-day stuff. Okay, so that's the consolidation bit, but on the intelligence side, that's where you create the value. It's having the right categories and merchant information. This has been really the heart of what Meniga has done in the past. Some banks buy our technology almost just for the categorization engine. This year, we've developed a new addition in the platform. The data scientists call n-gram detection. It's a way to use the text information to get even higher relevance and score in the categorization ranking. But a lot of banks are just still struggling with displaying clean transaction tests. It's like in some countries when you go, people are trying to get an understanding of where the money goes, and you only give them a list of garbled text. Seeing the brand and having the information about what did I spend my money on and with which brands, this is where we're building a lot of our innovation, our notifications, and how we can kind of, the graph you see there in the middle, this is the detail screen on your app, where you can see how much you spend on groceries and with which merchants just by clicking on a transaction. And it's 45% of our users in Iceland, they click on transactions just to learn about their finances, just making it the touch of a button. But when we launched the new platform, we also revisited how we want to work with data based on engagement. And again, a couple of times this morning, some of the banks have said it's not about downloads and logins. It's like, that's not engagement, and I wholeheartedly agree. It's like coming in and checking the balance of your account. It's a waste of time. It's like the favorite push notification that people get from, it's almost the only one people like. It's Meniga, þú varst að fá peninga, which doesn't translate well, but just got money. So money was paid. And you don't want to send that for like small increments. You want to send that when you have your salary in or when you get a substantial amount of money. But what we're focusing on instead is time between visits, level of engagement to say what sort of action did you complete within the application and what's happening. And the curve there, it's actually for every user on the platform, we can calculate their level of engagement and we can start controlling the amount of notifications and how we interact with people, because everything we're doing now is about personalization. It's about how can we better make use of the data, and not just the transaction data, but all the derived metadata as well, to have a more personalized experience. And what we built on top of the transaction and engagement data is dialogue. Dialogue is a way for banks to communicate with their customers. And the way we've been doing this, it's like we've probably been more conservative than some of the competition. We're doing rule-based segmentation to say, it's like, if you just had your first salary and you don't have a savings account, you should probably look into that. Or if this was your 10th time at Brewdog Bar, you should probably cut down on beer drinking. Or it's like, we're actually doing challenges now. If you have the No Beer challenge in your Meniga app, it means that you spend more on beer than the average Icelander. So we're not only doing notifications, we're also personalizing the content and the features in the app based on the data that we already have. So we've been doing that as a rule-based application, and some of the ideas, just because I need a picture of me with a bike in every talk I do, you can detect those moments of spending a lot of money could trigger something else. So I found out I need to raise my insurance if I'm going to insure all of my expensive bikes. You can find out when people have children, that's when they want to save up for college fund or do different things. These are the moments of truth or the moments of high motivation in people's lives. And when you travel, you might have insurance moments or any other type of product recommendation, advice, or anything else. So in our minds, banks need to do a lot to replace the interactions they have in their branches. They need to find a way to develop a communication channel in the digital bank, and we've done that by combining transactions, notifications, and everything else in this way. It's still early days, but I wanted to invite our resident data scientist, Ingvi, to come on stage and show us what he's been working on. Ingve!
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, because like I said, we are a data company at heart. We've been doing a lot with transactional data, but what Ingve and the data scientists are working on is a way to use machine learning to detect some of these things. Can you tell us a few things about what we see here? I'll just start the...
Yeah, so what we're looking at here is a data analysis project that we've been working on in the Meniga technical lab. And this is the Meniga correlator. And it's built on our data warehouse, and it generates all sorts of insights using machine learning. So what we're seeing here is analysis of age. And just for example, it's showing here that young people like fast food and old people like subscriptions to newspapers, which is not very surprising, but at least it shows that the algorithms are working correctly. Yeah, here we see the young people and the fast food, and this is the old people and the subscriptions to newspapers. So this tool can be used to do multiple things. It can give us market insights, and it can also do predictions on like spending patterns, and it can profile our users, so we can generate segments, and then we can feed those into the transaction-driven marketing or the dialogue campaigns. Yeah. Here we see that we're training a neural network model to predict some dimension.
I had a demo of this last week, and I said we have to do machine learning on stage just to see how people react. But what's happening now is we're finding patterns with regards to, I mean, age and gender is easy, but what the patterns we see is, for instance, if you have 6 transactions in the recycling plant, it means that you're going to have a big transaction in the DIY shop, like Biko or Bauhaus.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and also like if you're suddenly you're paying 2 utility bills instead of 1, that's a big indication that you've just bought a new house, and that is a predictor that you're going to go buy some furniture or do some other DIY shopping. So yeah, we can find these factors using a tool like this.
Yep, cool stuff. Tack.
Coming in 2019.
Yeah, so it's still early days. We're doing a lot with the data just on the rule-based logic, but now we're seeing that with the new platforms and technology, we can do experiments like this really quickly, and the idea is that we're going to be validating a lot of these segments just by measuring signals. We're doing like 2 or 3 experiments like this per month, and it's just a really exciting space to be in. The last bit on the intelligence side is consumer data analytics. So we've been working with merchants, and we believe this is yet another way for banks to generate new revenue streams and create a strong relationship with the merchants. We've had this product out in the market for many years, selling it to the big brands. So Domino's and H&M, Lindex, and some of these have been buying these reports. But we took it back and we thought, okay, how about the, Mandi? If you have a kebab tonight, go to Mandi. These are guys who just make the best kebab, but they're not data scientists. It's like, how can we package the information and data we have for people who love to cut hair or make fast food or whatever is their core business? And we had an internal design sprint. We came up with this, and we've already sold, I don't know how many. Eva, where are you? 10 or 12 subscriptions within a very short amount of time. And companies are willing to pay maybe 300 to 400 euros per month to get the information about how they compare to their local competition and to just gain their, info on their market share and everything else. Rewards. We've been running our own card-linked offers platform. We've been developing it for 5 years. This is the new design that came out of an internal design session recently. The idea here is to combine finance management and offers. So we've been doing that for a while. It's still a bit revolutionary for banks to think about, can we bring something like this into our main channels? But we feel that this is probably the best opportunity to generate new revenue streams based on the data you have. And we have metrics now that show that a highly personalized offer with a deep discount from a merchant, it's very well received within the market, and it has much higher metrics with the consumers. So we see when we bring on new customers to new brands, they stay with them and they keep spending money. And it's the key to the future. Personalized, seamless, merchant-funded offers, merchants actually funding the transactions within the banks. And yeah, we have some fantastic projects that we hope to talk about in the future there. The last bit, over here in the future, I found this quote last week. It's like, this is a situation we see often. Banks are investing in AI and machine learning projects, but they can't find the transactions that I did a couple of months ago. We're aggregating, usually we do like 2 years of data. Our customers that joined us years ago, they have 7 or 8 years of data, really fast, retrievable, categorized and merchant mapped. And this is what we've been building. This is the FIN42 project, just a really quick demo of how we combine the notifications and the transactions. It's not like our first incarnation of personal finance management. You see this weekly report. It summarizes your week. Just before lunch on Sunday, it's the same time that Apple sends you the screen time report now. So I think we've found a way to find when you reflect on this. This is clicking on a mortgage transaction, seeing how much you got left to pay, but also making it actionable. So making every transaction shine. Every transaction has a history. And here I can choose to put money on the capital of my loan, and it tells me how much faster I'm going to pay it down. So these are all just examples of different journeys within the app, connecting notifications to actionable events. And this is just our experimentation. We have a different tone of voice. We're not a bank. We have this monster that steals money at random intervals. But we don't have that live in Iceland. We don't have transactions in Iceland. It's more just an information platform. We're not doing payment initiation. We did this subscription challenge last February, where people came back to us and said, oh, I actually managed to save like $200, $300 because I unsubscribed from a few things that I hadn't noticed on my credit card. Some free trials and things that people are coming back to. And we're just trying to build these different type of journeys around the finance. This is clicking on a transaction, see that I'm spending more on fuel than last year, looking at that data. This is where 45% of our monthly active users engage with their finances. And yeah, we've been getting really good feedback on this. And the last bit on the UX side is maybe the challenges concept, where we took our old budgeting approach, we packaged that as something closer to Strava and what Strava and Fitbit are doing to kind of focus on one area of spending for 1 month, make it fun and engaging. 40% of people that have used the app this year have done 1 or more challenges, 2.3 challenges per person, and they're saving on average $120 or 100 euros per challenge that they take part in, going up to $400 or $500 for clothing and restaurants and things like that. So it's a fun way. We're getting really good feedback on that. Fun way to engage with the finances. And I wanted to invite my friend Jay from Tangerine on stage to show us what they've been doing. I met Tangerine Bank a couple of years ago. It's a fantastic Canadian bank that shares the vision that Meniga has to improve people's financial lives. You are setting up the first agile team at the moment.
That's right. Yeah, we've gone through a few now. We're up to about 8 or 9.
I have to press a button.
Yes.
This is all very hand cranked. We have the best roadies, you remember? Here we go.
Perfect. Thanks, Finnur. So I just want to start off by telling everybody I'm very privileged to be up here. I'm excited to be amongst a really great group of speakers. Listening to all the topics this morning, it really validated the approach and the journey we've taken over the last 2 years, we being Tangerine, in really reimagining banking, going through our evolution from an everyday bank to now really driving customer engagement and customer experience. And so what I'd like to do today is quickly walk you through some of where we are in that journey and some of our new features that we've recently released. And it's not that Tangerine was, we've hired a bunch of fortune tellers that we know that this was coming. Like we're talking about this today. We started 2 years ago. And really what it is it's that we we had invested early in a feedback cycle with our clients. We were getting this information early from our clients to know that we need to start looking at other things. Being a challenger bank, a digital bank, Canada's largest direct bank, no branches, we needed to find new ways to get this information in. And so that, with that information, along with strong partnerships with good partners, along with, listening to our employees, and we were able to go down a journey where we brought our clients in, we brought our partners in, and our employees, where we went through this process. And so what I'd like to show you first is a feature that we like to call left to spend. It's basically, it allows, okay, I can look up here, sorry. It basically connects your daily spending to your long-term goals. And the idea is that we want to be able to help clients day to day be able to save more money and to be able to nudge them in the right direction, and basically create those habits that we talked about earlier, and be able to help them find more capacity in their finances to hit some of their goals. And so the way we do that is we leverage Meniga's powerful categorization engine. And so we determine the income that's coming in. We deduct the fixed expenses, so that'd be like mortgages, car payments, rent, that sort of thing. And then we deduct savings or money they've already allocated to go towards goals. And that gives us this value that we call left to spend, or a spending budget. And the idea is that if we can help clients know how they're tracking throughout the month, we can either nudge them to save more, so that way they can reach their goals sooner, or we can help them figure out, okay, you're running off track. These are ways that we can fix it for you. And so, this is one of the features. We've had great feedback from clients so far. We're generating insights off this, learning data, and feeding that back to our clients to help them along the way. So the second feature that I'd like to show you is what I talked about earlier, is about goals. So it's great to have goals, but unless you have something driving you to hit those goals, many times they get forgotten. And so what we've done is we've created a goals module, which basically, the same concept. It's taking now your left to spend, tying it to goals, making you hit those goals sooner. But also what we've done is we've created a powerful goal recommendation engine in the background. So now we have the ability to, based on where the person, our client, is in their life, we can suggest the right goals for them. And eventually all of this plugs into a more holistic financial plan. And so this is, again, something else that we've done. So in this case, we've recommended an emergency fund. And, we basically show them, where they are in that journey right now and how long it'll take them to reach that. And then what we've done is we've added, so these two are in production. We're getting feedback from them now. We have a third feature that we're close to putting into beta, which is what we call recipes, or programmable banking. And the idea is with this, it's creating that additional capacity. It's using fun, engaging ways to try to get clients to save more money. And so what we've done is we've tied it to third-party APIs. So Tangerine recently became the official bank of the Raptors. And so we created one recipe where clients have the ability to, every time that, you can pick a player or a team, but in this case, we'll pick basketball. So every time that your favorite basketball team, so for us it would be the Raptors, would win, we will automatically move $10 to your savings account. It's very similar to my friend here, the Money Monster, but it's something that, this is a way that clients can connect to something. So if they, if it's a rainy day and they want to now start planning for a summer vacation, or if it's their favorite hockey team, baseball team, basketball team, it's something that they can connect to and can help them towards savings.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks for coming and sharing this. It's really, yeah. To press the button again. So here we see a bank that's being very innovative. They came over here. We had a couple of day brainstorming around this, like a mini design sprint. And they're innovating on top of our platform, and it's just fantastic to see them do that. So I have a couple of things. We've been running our own platform in the cloud, and this is a theme we see. We've been kind of waiting for banks to get there. And for instance, the intelligence offering and some of the other items we have will be available as cloud offering. They are already technically available. It's just something that you can expect to see with pricing and the new business models next year. But because I have you here, it's like I know there are questions on there, and I'm a couple of minutes behind. But as I have a lot of you banks in here at the moment, I wanted to ask you the €1 million question. So do you have your Slido thing open? If you had €1 million in 1 year, where would you place your bets? It's like, depending on where you are now, where would you invest your money when it comes to consolidation, building value from data, the digital banking user experience, or building a rewards program for your customers in your market? It's not often you can get live data from customers, so I want to use the time. And it's looking good. So you've all aggregated and consolidated your data. So a lot of Meniga customers out here, that's good. So Yngvi, I believe you have more work ahead of you. We've recently changed the structure in the company somewhat, where we're gathering all of our intelligence people in a new team, where we're putting increased emphasis on this, but we also see a lot of opportunity in all of the other fields, but I will take this feedback back to the team. And a final bit on the team, for you to go beyond banking, for you to build something truly innovative, for you to take the user and put him into the driving seat of your innovation, you need a strong vision, and you need a way to get there. We notice we travel around the world quite a lot, almost every other week, and we see, roughly speaking, 2 types of banks. Banks that are trying to innovate within their existing organization, and banks that are changing their organizations to be more innovative. So the team that is building the app in Iceland, it's 7 people, and they're in this screen. The data scientists are 9. The offers team, another group of 9 people. These are the 100+ employees from Meniga that are building all of the things that I've shown on screen. It's a fantastic team, but you don't need like houses full of people to build good stuff. You need a clear vision. You need to be agile. You need to be the user experience first. You need to have data, and you need to do a lot of experiments and fail faster. So you need to learn quickly from what you're doing and get to a place where you don't need half a year or 2 years to test a concept. You need to be able to test ideas with people without doing any coding, and then place your bets and invest along those lines. That was me. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah.
Thank you, Finnur.
We had some silly questions.
Can we switch to Slido questions to see if there are any?
Yeah, the t-shirts are limited.
Maybe time for 1 or 2?
This is my fintech outfit. I have a clothing challenge. I haven't bought 1 piece of clothing for 1.5 months, so I have my company supply me with t-shirts, but I have the only copy of the Money Monster. And we'll put that up on auction later. Story of the Menigans. Do we have time for that? Yeah. It's one of my favorite stories throughout the redesign of the applications, where we had this financial profile that describes your finances, and we had like a lady and a gentleman and some child, and it's like that's how you put together your profile. But at the time we had, I think, 3 same-sex marriages and families within Meniga. So the designers, or actually was a front-end developer, one of the first employees at Meniga, said, it's like, it doesn't fit my profile. So the designers were flustered, and it's like, we need to solve this. And they came up with the genderless Menigans as a night hackathon almost, but now this makes up our brand, and they are the little cartoon characters that advise people about their finances in Iceland. And we have kind of taken a liking to them. one more. Is it 2020? Or with the versions, we're deploying versions every 2 weeks now, on average. So we've stopped doing big versions. The idea is now, the whole FIN42 objective was to make experiments with data and new features much faster. We're doing A/B testing with a lot of things now, just to, be more innovative. So there's not going to be a big launch in 2020, but we hope to have hundreds of small launches before that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Finnur.
Back.